Hey guys, welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links video. Here we're going to go ahead and talk about one of the new archetypes that was added to the game with the latest box. It is Gladiator Beast. So here is the deck list that I'm still working on optimizing. It's more or less just a concept right now. Hope you guys enjoy this though. We're going to talk about deck options. I'm going to show you guys a couple of replays and we'll probably do 1 or 2 live duels. So here we go. We have Gladiator Beast Lackery. Now, he starts off as being an 1800 monster or 2100 when he pops out. Now, if you're not familiar with what these cards do, basically when they attack or are attacked at the end of the damage step, or excuse me, the battle phase, they are able to swap in, kind of like how ninjas do. Ninjas like to attack and then swap out through the uses of their trap cards. These guys simply do it through their effects. Now, they have little gimmicks. Like this one, for example, is unaffected by spell cards. So, like, for example, Econ, Super Rush. Well, I don't know if Super Rush, because that one's a little bit weird, but I assume it applies to this too. Either way, Econ, for example, cannot target this thing, so cool to have him. Gladiator Beast Bestiari is here for the back row removal, so when he pops out, he can destroy any set or face-up spell or trap cards on the field. There are other Gladiator Beasts, which we'll talk about in a minute as well, that are not a part of this deck list currently. I feel like you need one Mermio because it is able to destroy any face-up monster. So if you get yourself in a really sticky situation, you can attack and then, or get attacked and protect your monster somehow, what have you, and then pop this thing out through the effect of the other Gladiator Beast monster. At least one. So the one problem with having one is that if you have it in your hand to begin, it's a dead draw, which is why we have the Respite or Respite. I imagine the word's called Respite, but that's why we have this, because it allows you to shuffle 2 Gladiator Beasts from your hand back into your deck, and then +1, you get to draw that 3rd card there. So it's basically a 3 for 3. So you lose 1 card, this card, it goes to the graveyard, 2 cards go back to your deck, which is perfect because it synergizes really, really well with these guys' effect of saying, hey, I want to pop another one out from the deck. So, for example, if you draw into all 3 Bestiaries, they can't fish out into other Bestiaries. Say you want to destroy their back row or whatever. So you play one, attack with it, and then at the end of the turn, you are able to pop out some other monsters and things like that. And then a couple of turns from there, you can pop out a Bestiary, if that makes any sense. So long story short, it gives you more options, which is why I run this. I don't think it works super well in 1 or 2. I think that if you play this, it definitely needs to be at 3, though. The one problem with that, though, is that sometimes this itself can be a dead draw, which gets me to the point of why we're running Duel Standby. Duel Standby is Taya exclusive. It allows you to start off with 5 cards in your starting hand. And if you go second, 6 cards, but you get my point. So it allows you to start with 1 extra card there. The one problem with Duel Standby is that it gives the opponent that extra card too, so keep that in mind. Other good skills would be things like Restart, Balance. If you make a heavier build of this that utilizes more of the higher level monsters, you can run Beatdown, or a deck that utilizes more so these, because I can tell you right now, I have not popped out a Heraclinos or Nerokius a single time with this deck. Esadari is there as an option. I tend not to do it because it's just a beat monster. It doesn't have the ability to shuffle itself back in. So if it gets out there, it kind of gets stuck. So I tend not to do that. I just rely on these monsters. Last but not least, we have the standard cards here for a little bit of viability. Super Rush is really cool in this deck. It's one of those cards that fits really well. Super Rush lost a lot of viability recently, so let's see if it can kind of regain some of that momentum. So if we take a look at some of the related cards to this archetype, there are cards that can be kind of teched in certain scenarios like Disarm or Gladiator Lash or Parry. They're super niche. You don't really need them. The field spell is cool, but I feel like it's just a waste of space in most cases, guys. Such is my opinion, though. Andal is cool as a beater monster, but he kind of gets the exact same issue as that Desari here, Esadari, excuse me, where he kind of just gets stuck out there. But it's cool to have a 1900 beater monster, but he just gets stuck out there because he can't shuffle himself back in, which also is a hindrance to the deck because you can't use him when he gets put out there to pop out, like I said, that Bestiari if you need to, or things of that nature. So I didn't really cover Dimakari here, but he's able to attack twice in the battle phase, by the way, and he is the requirement to pop out Alexander. You need him to play Alexander. Otherwise, you can play Alexander simply by doing a 1 tribute summon. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So Augustus is here as a 2600. I believe he's the strongest non-fusion that is currently available to us right now, aside from Octavius here. But this thing is able to allow you to pop out 1 card from your hand in defense mode. It's really weird because only is able to do that if it's special summoned by the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster. This thing has a really tricky play on words because it can only be special summoned at the end of the damage step, or the battle phase. I keep saying damage step. At the end of the battle phase, through the effect of the other Gladiator Beast monster. So if that winds up happening, you pop this thing out. It can stay out there fine, but the monster it pops out at the end of the phase gets shuffled back into the deck. The one from your hand goes from your hand to the deck, which may or may not be a good thing, but it kind of becomes useless because you can't, because there's no main phase 2, right? If there was a main phase 2, this would be an incredible card. But since there's no main phase 2, that just means that your turn ends after the battle phase. So you can't, from there, use this guy and then that other monster from your hand into a fusion monster. So that's one of the things that I've talked about, guys. And otherwise, it would be really good, but aside from that, you just basically have this thing as a beater monster that has the ability to shuffle itself in and out. So that's cool, though, in all seriousness. So let's go ahead and look at some of the other cards here. We have the fusions. Okay, so Octavius is like Bestiari, but the key difference is that he's more powerful, but he trades in, you know, he gains that power by trading in the ability to target anything. So this guy's only able to target face-down Speller Trap cards in the Speller Trap card zone. So keep that in mind. He can't target anything there. And Secutor is a cool card, but I feel like if you play this card, it requires you to run a little bit more protection. Things like maybe a Sphere Karibo. And then you get into a scenario where it's like, oh, the deck seems more crammed. Excuse me, like too crammed for like a 20-card deck. Maybe you run a few extra. And of course, if you play the game, you know that you want to try to get 20 cards as consistently as you can, as possible. So what he does is he allows you to shuffle himself back into the deck whenever he was attacked or he attacks. And then you can pop out 2 Gladiator Beast monsters. So he's going to be like the main part for you to be able to play something like these. You know, 3 Gladiator Beast monsters are required for these guys. And it's kind of hard to be able to do that, which is why I said I haven't been able to do it a single time. So if you want to be able to play them, most of the time you're going to have to play Secutor. Now, Test Tape is a cool option as well, but I feel like it's too slow for the deck. That's just me, though. And the rest of the cards aren't really notable. So as far as options, I know that this has taken a while, so thank you guys for, you know, putting up with this. As far as options go, really half the deck has to be kind of defensive stuff. The monsters, the way it's constructed, I feel like that's basically the best spread. You can kind of maybe add another Marmio if you really want to, but half the deck has to be the defensive cards. So the rushes, the controllers, and the disruptions, and they can all be swapped out for other defensive cards. Another one that I was using for a little bit is the brand new trap card that just got added. So if you take a look at that new trap card that was just added, which is like Impenetrable Attack, I believe the name of that card is. Also, Draining Shield could be a really good card in here, I think. Assuming that negating the attack doesn't stop the condition of those cards. So, wherever that new card is, I don't see it. You guys probably saw it already, but I'm not seeing it. Let me go ahead and search for it. Okay, attack. Here we go. Impenetrable Attack. This is a cool card in the deck. It allows your monsters to either just attack and not get destroyed, so you take the battle damage, but you do get the requirement, or they can be attacked, you take no battle damage, or excuse me, the card can't be destroyed, but you'll take the battle damage, or things like that. Or you can simply say you take no battle damage for this turn. So it's very, you know, versatile in this deck. If you want to run it, it's perfectly fine. I found myself probably wanting Wall of Disruption more, because initially I did not have this in the deck. Found myself wanting that more to get over some of the monsters that I would deal with that are too powerful for this deck. Let's go ahead and jump into a couple of the replays. I've played against a lot of meta decks over in Legend. Legend is literally nothing but like angels, not really red eyes, not really ninjas, just angels and like that massive morph cancerous Weevil deck. That's pretty much all there is there. But I do have a few replays for you guys here. And of course there's tunes in there. So I think this is actually a tunes replay. Paradox Brothers tunes. Paradox Bros are going to start popping up a lot more consistently, along with Pegasus and nothing but Pegasus Mind Scan Angels, and then Paradox Brothers 3-star demotion, or into like balance or restart. People do things like that on these guys as well, and simply just run Toon Kingdom combos from there. Dual Standby, like I said, that triggers there, and again, you can use things like restart. So this is when the deck initially had Metamorph and Impenetrable Attack, actually. So I was initially running these cards in Cosmic Cyclone, So I've changed the deck around a little bit. I teched in the Wall of Disruptions and things like that. A second Super Rush is now in the deck, whereas there was only one before. Pop that Cosmic Cyclone. It's really good for being able to do things like that. Got rid of that Econ, and I can just kind of go in here offensively. Gonna attack the Ninja. So this is against a Ninja player here. Okay, he can't do anything to Metamorph, but at least he knows what it is. Gonna swap out Lackery, and the main thing about this deck is just trying to figure out how and when you should swap in certain guys. Now, I popped out Dimakari because I wasn't afraid of anything he could play because I had the Impenetrable Attack down there. But that's the main thing about the deck, is just trying to figure out, again, when you should play some of these guys. So I'm going to play Bestiari here. We're going to go on the offensive, despite the fact that he has that card face down. And so this, I believe, is one of the newer Ninja cards, Senior Silver Ninja. So when it is attacked and it's flipped, it allows him to pop out other ninjas. But here's where Dimakari becomes really good, because the red and black dragon ninjas are not so powerful defensively. So there we go. Black dragon and then red dragon's going to pop out. So Dimakari is able to get over both of them here. So we have the Metamorph. The guy can attack twice. Well, excuse me. He gets that second attack there, and then Bestiari gets the attack on the red dragon. You get my point. But they both from here can be shuffled back. Now, at this point, I didn't have the Respite in the deck. So that's why I said there's other cards like Metamorph and Impenetrable Attack. And all three of these cards are not in my build that I'm running now. But having the Respite could have helped, because I could have put this back in the deck. Since I only run one, I can't technically bring that out through the effect of Dimakari, because it's only able to come out from the deck. So he's only going to ask me to bring out the ones that are in the deck. I at least was able to get rid of two of his monsters. Last but not least, I'm able to pop over that last one there by doing this. Popping out the Murmillo is going to allow me to destroy his monsters. So I literally just popped all of his ninjas. He was probably relying on them, considering that he has 1,000 life points. Murmillo is able to destroy a monster when it is played out there. I'm not concerned again because I had the Impenetrable Attack, so he couldn't have destroyed it anyway. Swapped out Bestiari for another Dimakari, I believe. Or Lackery. Yep, Lackery. So when it comes out that way, it's a 2100 monster, which makes it next strongest monster in the deck aside from Alexander. So he plays Ebisu. Not worried about Ebisu because, like I said, this happens here. And since he attacked it and it wasn't destroyed, the attack goes through, it wasn't negated or anything like that, I can get the effect of Murmillo. On his turn, I'm going to pop out a Bestiari, and that's game. Literally is game. That easy. So that's the power of this deck, guys. That's the power. He had just played it, so he couldn't have chained it. He couldn't have done anything. He had just played it because this was on his turn. That's game. So we're going to go into another couple of replays here. And like I said, we'll try to do a live duel here. Actually, I may wind up just doing that in another separate video when I optimize it a little more, because I know some guys like Guns and Duel Links Meta are going to also be making their variations of it. Like I said, there's probably another deck out there among these cards that could run things like 3-star demotion, and it's a bit of a heavier build than mine. Mine tends to be lighter monsters with more defense, and that's just my playstyle though. But again, you can kind of utilize some of those heavier monsters in the fusions and stuff, because I never really actually get into the fusions. So I think this is a duel against Red Eyes because it's against Kaiba, and Kaiba's mainly only used for his beatdown skill, which now isn't even exclusive to him anymore because Crowler has it. So it's against Kaiba. Most of the time, like I said, it is against Red Eyes. Zombie, actually. A lot of people are running that Guns Blazing Red Eye Zombie Bacon Saver deck that he used to get the King of Games, of course, because he made a video on it, and I've ran into it a lot in Legend. So we start off with a pretty good hand. Has a nice blend of defense along with my monsters here. You see, this is a duel where I actually have made those changes I was talking about, guys. So I'm going to set those face down, of course. Not sure if this was an Angel player, so starting off with Econ is a must if they're an Angel player, because in most cases, they're going to be crazy enough to activate Dakini's effect, and you'll be able to pop the Dakini. Every now and again, you'll find somebody that's actually smart and doesn't play it, but that's why they play the Angel deck with Mind Scan to know if you have an Econ down there. So I'm going to go full offensive. This is where we get into a chain. So he's going to use the Forbidden Chalice on his monster. That's a very good card that's very underrated. It's going to allow it to get stronger than my monster. So here, watch this chain. I'm going to play the Econ, change him to defense mode because he has nothing defensively. So I would still get over that. but he's going to negate my attack with the bacon saver. That saved his bacon. So we got into a chain there, but he still goes into defense mode, so Bestiari is able to get over it. That triggers an attack, and we're good to go. The one problem is that Bestiari can't go out into another Bestiari. That would be broken, because Bestiari into Bestiari would mean I would pop his back row in that scenario instead of popping out a Dimakari. And he just outright surrendered. He just outright surrendered. We didn't get to see the full potential, but really, I was probably going to win that duel just based on the way the deck was running at that point. I drew into all my defensive cards that I would have needed. Taya versus Maximilian Pegasus. This is either against Angels or... I've done so many duels. These are all legend duels, by the way, guys. These are either against Angels or Toons. So I'm assuming it's Angels. This deck has went 1-3 against Angels. One of those was really close, but it's lost... It's lost 2 of them that weren't close because Dakini is annoying. It won 1 of them, and 1 of them was really close. So, really, really close. So, mind scan, like I said, so they can see if you have that econ. That's the only reason why they run that. And now, at this point, I actually have the Gladiator's Beast Respite in the deck. So, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle back into the deck these 2. Don't want either of them right now. And I actually got the starts. That's cool. Do not want either of them. It's not the best to have 2 Lackery right now, but it's cool. Laquari, Lackery, whatever. I'm just going to keep calling him Lackery. And then from there, I'll shuffle these back. I tend to not like to have Bestiari in my hand. I tend to not want Bestiari in my hand, but the cool thing about that is like it's like a magical mallet or things of that nature, a reload or things of that nature, because you're able to draw into 3 cards. And you see, I didn't have this econ or this Wall of Disruption, so now I can feel confident because I have an econ now. So if he's Angels, it's not the biggest of deals. So I'm pretty sure he's Angels. I think this is Cyber Petite. Oh, Sergeant Electro. Okay, so this is against... It was just a random kind of lock deck. And I decided to chain here. I could have just let him do it, but I decided to chain here because I have the Bestiari. Bestiari is pretty weak. It can't get over things like that. So I wanted to make sure I put him in a position where I can go offensive. But I drew into Dimakari, so I wound up playing that instead. I think that his face down was a mirror wall, but Dimakari can attack twice in the battle phase, which is really interesting if it comes out through the effect. So since it came out just normally summoned like that, it didn't get the effect. But we do pop out Bestiari here, pop that back row, which wound up being an econ, which he should have used. He was probably waiting for something. I'm not sure. Now, here's where I made a misplay. I should have went from Dimakari right here on the right, instead of going out into Bestiari, I should have went into Alexander, okay? And then I should have used the Lackery into Bestiari. I made a misplay there. That's why I said you got to make sure you do some of this right. It's not like a brain-dead deck, such as like Red Eyes most of the time. Mirage Dragon pops out, and this is all because I messed up the play. He probably wouldn't even have bothered going offensive if I had Alexander out there. So he has the mirror wall. Not too concerned about the mirror wall. Gonna go ahead and pop that Rush Headlong. Get my second attack in, by the way. And I'll actually do the combo that I should have done last turn. So I get 2 attacks in. So first one destroys it with the Rush Headlong. Second one, get that direct attack. He's now below the 2,000 threshold. Cannot use the mirror wall. Actually popping out Alexander here is great because it's a 2,400 monster he has to deal with, and he's low on resources. And he's just gonna go defensive. He's gonna go defensive. We're going to play Dimakari. Just go offensive, man. He had no way to stop this at this point. Dimension Warrior, that's not going to stop me here. I had 2 attacks in that turn, and that was just going to be enough for you. So we're going to go ahead and just end up here because I just realized it's a 20-minute video. So I'm going to come back with some more live duels. Don't worry, guys. We have a lot coming down the pipeline due to this new box, so just stay tuned for that. Hope you guys did enjoy this. In the comments, let me know any thoughts that you guys have in regards to ways to optimize the deck. Like I said, I feel like there are 2 separate decks you can run. One that's more lighter monsters and one that's more heavier monsters, like higher level monsters, as opposed to my deck that does actually mainly utilize the fusions, which mine does not really do. As you saw in the replays, there were some times that I could have popped out the 2,500 monster, 2 fusion requirement monster, but just simply didn't, because in most cases, in my opinion, having that second monster there is more valuable than having only 1 with this deck. So that's just me. Have an awesome day, you guys. Thank you guys for the continued support. Take it easy.